Welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's tech tip, but we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the global community of women in high school sports, and We Coach. You've heard me say it before, but it's true. These are two great organizations that you really should be a part of. The global community of women in high school sports and We Coach. And now let's have a quick word from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also connects you to the parents and the student athletes who really love your program. And the information you get is going to be positive, but it also gives that squeaky wheel parent a chance to vent. And sometimes they'll share a small issue that you can address and keep it from turning into a big issue because you didn't know about it because you hadn't done a survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to find out more. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank Final Forms for their support. Final Forms is the industry leader in forms and registration, but they are so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility. They also have reminders for parents about policies and physicals and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. You know, it's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their athletes and their teams play better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just love the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com and you're going to find tools to help your teams, your coaches, and your kids play at their very best. And Huddle is going to provide a complete professional grade solution to the challenges that you face. At huddle.com, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com, tell them you heard about it on the podcast, and use our code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Create custom branded content for your school's social media channel. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. You can find out more about Snap Mobile by going to onsnap.com. That's onsnap.com, and check out their entire suite of platforms that are designed to help you as an athletic director do your job better. Snap Raise is their fundraising platform. Our coaches use Snap Raise, and it was just fantastic. You can raise thousands and thousands of dollars, and they even have a program where you can get your money before you start your fundraiser. Snap Spend is their secure money management platform. Snap Store allows you to order custom gear for your fans. Snap Connect is their multilingual family engagement platform. And Snap Manage will help you design an entire website for your school. You can find it all at onsnap.com. That's onsnap.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com and they're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come to your games and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. They'll also show you how to set up and sell tickets for things like school dances, your school plays and concerts, even graduation. You can find it all at hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards for all your sports or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles and their library of templates. They're going to help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. You can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. Their indoor scoring tables and video boards not only generate money for your department, but also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com to see exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. We've got a Sideline Interactive score table in our gym, and it's just great. We use it for games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and the customer service is just outstanding. You can check it all out at sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to go with one of our great sponsors. You know that Snap Mobile helps sponsor the podcast. And today we're going to be visiting with Matt Hausmann. Matt's the director of the Snap Connect platform. And he's going to tell us a little bit about that. Matt's out of Lexington, Massachusetts, but he's actually heading down to Florida soon for a big conference. Matt Hausmann, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thank you very much, Jake. Great to be here.
Well, you and I were talking a little bit before we came on. We're actually recording this on November 28th, so it's going to be very timely when you're listening to it the very next day. Matt, we always like to start out with our guests giving our listeners a little biographical sketch. So tell us, where you were born, where you grew up, went to school and college, and maybe up to the point where you went to work for Snap, and then we'll hear about that later, and try to squeeze that all into about 4 or 5 minutes. So what's the Matt Hausmann story?
So the Matt Hausmann story is I'm originally from Erie, Pennsylvania. So I'm a Pennsylvanian through and through. And I lived in either northwestern Pennsylvania or far upstate New York. My dad was with GTE. We were transferred every few years until the end of 8th grade. And so sort of my experiences from an athletic standpoint were summer swim team, soccer, sort of the things that, kids did back when I was a kid. And at the end of 8th grade, we were transferred to Los Angeles. So I then attended a high school that was as large as the town I had moved from. And and so that was Westlake High School in Westlake Village, California, suburb of LA. And my athletic story is, I would call it, is that when we arrived, I was driving my mother nuts. I'm the youngest. And so she put me on summer swim team for the last couple of months of summer. And at the end of that, there were 2 coaches, both of whom swam and played polo for Stanford. And one of the coaches said, your times are pretty good for a freshman. You should swim. And so I said, okay. So I spent high school swimming year round, both club and high school, and playing water polo. And from there, I left and went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and then did my graduate work at my MBA at the University of Michigan. Go Blue. They just had a great game against Ohio State. Sorry, everyone.
That's a big game, yeah.
That was an amazing game. And, from there, I was in consumer products marketing and consulting for several years. And then I went off and did my first startup. And really, it was through a series of startups that got me to Snap Mobile. So I was employee number 2 of a company called School Connects that has become Snap Connect and was purchased by Snap Mobile. And that's how I got here today.
Again, our regular listeners, they hear me say this all the time, but it's true. I just love listening to the stories and how, whether it's, a coach or an AD or in your case, someone working in tech, that sports background, just has, an impact on what you end up doing. I always say I didn't want to work for a living, and going into teaching and coaching, allowed me to do that. I'm sure you feel the same way about your job.
For sure.
Let's pretend that one of our listeners is not familiar with Snap Mobile as a parent company. Maybe talk a little bit about Snap, and then we're going to take a deeper dive into your division, which is Snap Connect. So share with our listeners a little bit about Snap.
So Snap Mobile, and it's funny, I'm new to Snap Mobile. We were acquired and became part of the Snap family just a few months ago. So my view of all of this is probably slightly different than marketing would want me to say exactly. But, the way I look at it is Snap Mobile is really an integrated suite of solutions that help athletic directors and group leaders fund, support, manage, and really lead programs that report up to them. What I think is really unique about Snap, and one of the things that really just sort of lights my fire every morning, is this focus on sort of every kid and giving every kid an opportunity. And how do we break down those barriers to those opportunities so that every kid can participate and find sort of something they love and have a connection to their school that goes just beyond sort of the academic side, but really kind of is that whole student, if you will.
Yeah, I've found out, obviously Snap is one of our sponsors. So I've found out a lot more about the company in the last couple of months. But at the last school that I was at as an athletic director, our school, our coaches, a number of them use the Snap Raise platform. And again, as an athletic director, I just thought it was great because, I didn't have to do anything. But at the same time, I was very much, I was in the loop. I knew what was going on. And bottom line, it worked. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it, and it was successful. Now, you mentioned that, your division, which is Snap Connect, was a separate company, but now you're part of the Snap family. So for our listeners, I think this is the first time we've had someone to talk about Snap Connect. And again, you and I were talking before we came on. I think it's a really cool feature. And if I was an athletic director, I would definitely be using it. But, take our listeners through, what is Snap Connect?
So let me start with sort of like the standard, and then we're going to bring it to something I think that will really resonate for the listeners. So at its core, Snap Connect is a multilingual family engagement and communications platform that breaks down the key barriers of access, language, and adult literacy so that every family, and especially we see at the high school and middle school levels, student can participate and engage. And so the keys there are really, we spend time in schools with athletic directors, with coaches, with teachers, with principals, really understanding, and families, really understanding what those barriers were And why does engagement work really well at some schools and not the others? And those are the things that we've systematically broken down, so that, the critical communication that you want to have happen, that really is so important. I'm thinking of coaches. So now I've got my parent hat on. I have two sons that participated in athletics in high school and middle school and club and all that good stuff. And I just think about all of that communication and making it so it works for everyone. And that's really what we do.
Okay. Again, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are give our listeners some examples, some real life examples of how, Snap Connect has impacted a school, a team, a district? Can you come up with any off the top of your head?
Yeah, so let me give a couple of examples of how it's used, and then I'm going to give a couple examples of how sort of then it's driven results. So, and I'm going to use my oldest son was a distance runner, so cross country, indoor track, outdoor track, so 3-season athlete. And what I remember is, in August, so before school started, all the families had to go to a mandatory meeting if your kids were thinking of participating or going to. So in this instance, what would happen is an athletic director could actually just go into our system and notify all parents of a meeting when it's going to happen with a calendar invite that goes onto their calendars. If someone has a question, they have a way to reach out to that athletic director, but you get everyone invited. And again, it breaks down those barriers of access, language, adult literacy, so that every family is able to understand that there is a required meeting. So next we're in season. And so Coach, everyone called him Coach. He had been the cross-country coach for decades. Coach, every week wanted to kind of give updates out to parents and kind of give, here's the week ahead. Maybe it was towards the end of the season and they're kind of working towards Nike regionals or that type of thing. And so again, Coach is able to then put something out to the families, or when he was communicating with the kids, rather than it being on sort of like personal cell phone numbers, it's within an app. And again, it makes it so it's multilingual, all of those things that are really important in, America today, where 25% of all kids are first or second generation immigrants. Like the numbers are just kind of big. And earlier you were saying you're in Florida, and you think about the demographic changes that you've probably seen over the last decade or two. They're pretty substantial. So, go on. I'm sorry. You're just about to say something.
No, I was going to say again, the multilingual aspect, really jumped out at me as I was looking at it on the website. And you're absolutely right. Whether it's Florida or another state, it's the way things are and the way things are going to continue to be. So now back to you. What are some ways that you've seen schools use the Snap Connect platform?
So thinking of some of those results that we were talking about. So last year in our system, we had families active speaking 97 different languages. And which, if you think about that number, it's pretty astronomical. Now, going to, I'm thinking of a high school that I was at back in August, and we met with the principal, with counselors, and with the athletic director. And what the athletic director told us is they have had kids that participated in athletics since Snap Connect has been part of their tool belt, if you will. They've had kids participate that never participated before. And part of that is the parents now had a better idea, because now the parents that maybe speak Karen or Kinyarwanda or some, Burmese now knew what was going on and now felt comfortable letting their child participate. And so for me, that was sort of like a big win, right? Like the principal just said to us, like, or the athletic director rather, he said, I now see kids in the hallway that I've never, like, I don't want to say noticed, but he just said, like, I see them and they're so happy and more engaged in classes and all the other things that, we know that athletics drives benefits for kids. And you're now expanding the number of kids that can participate.
No, absolutely. And that's what any athletic director is striving to do is, stay connected to the kids that are currently in the program and always reaching out to those other kids and getting them, for lack of a better word, connected, with a team within the athletic program. Very, very cool stuff.
And so one of the other things that I think is a big win too is when a school or district uses our solution, let's say a high school, let's keep it really easy for everyone. So let's say a high school is a Snap Connect customer or partner. So they're using that not only athletics, but really across the school. Okay. And so now, Matt Hausmann, father of Connor Hausmann, I get invited by the school to Snap Connect. I activate my account. I am now automatically connected to all the teachers and any of the coaches or anything else that's relevant to me and my kids. So now think as an athletic director, and you've now are able to say to your coaches, all you're going to have to do is build your roster, which means you're going to say, I'm a swimmer, we had small teams. These are the 30 kids that are going to be on the boys swim team. I select those kids. I don't have to go chase down those parents and get the contact information and get all that set up. I just select those kids. I'm automatically connected to the parents. I have my group, boom, done. So rather than if you think of a coach who, has so many things, especially at the beginning of the season coming at them, what they're able to do is be connected and not spend all that time chasing down families and chasing down kids to get the contact information for their families. They're automatically connected. So as an AD, that time savings, I don't give to just one coach. I literally give that to every single coach of every single team.
So again, just a great platform. Let's say that cynical athletic director in Florida, calls you up and decides, okay, we want to, become a Snap Connect school. How hard is it? What has to happen for him to get connected or her to get connected with their families?
So it's a pretty simple process overall. So once we sort of have a go from a school, what we're going to do is we're going to work with their IT shop to get the contact data and the master schedule. So it's stuff that exists in what's called the student information system, like the main database for the school and the district. And we get a quick download from that. And then we hit invite. All the families are invited. They connect. That's it.
And then the athletic director and the coaches, they're going to, have access to the platform and they log in or connect as well.
Exactly. And, for some of our districts, they will roster the sports within that student information system. And if that happens, then the coaches don't even have to build out those rosters. If it's not, then they literally go in and say, okay, Jake Von Schurer, Matt Hausmann, and they just literally pick the people or the kids, and then they're automatically, and that creates the group, and then they're automatically connected to the families and the kids.
Yeah, I was thinking at our school, we were a private school, but we were K through 12 and we had, tons of kids in the program. We would probably just use last year's rosters to get started because a lot of those kids would be coming back. And if somebody had graduated, they may have a sibling in a lower grade, and then the coaches would have to go in and edit those rosters. But
could do the exact same thing. absolutely would work that way.
Now, let me ask you, let me throw another curveball at you here. Many states, Florida included, have a mandatory platform that they have to be signed up with for things like reporting of game scores and
Mhm.
playoffs and things like that. How at this point, how well does Snap and Snap Connect, mesh with some of these mandatory platforms, or is that something you've experienced yet?
We haven't experienced that yet. But again, I always kind of say it's technology and it's data. So there's always a way to connect technology. It's just sort of the need, the will, and the time to make that happen.
Well, again, it's I've been waiting to hear this version of the Snap platform, and you certainly didn't disappoint. If one of our listeners, and listeners, I certainly encourage you to do this, if they want to reach out, find out more about the platform, or connect with you, maybe pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you and potentially get started with Snap?
So it's pretty easy. It's Matthew, Mattthew, Hausmann, Hausmann, at snapraise.com.
Okay.
Very easy to get a hold of me.
And, I know on Snap, onsnap.com, is the main website. Is there a separate website for Snap Connect?
So you go to onsnap.com and then you select the Connect platform.
Okay.
So
Very
we've
cool.
really kind of pulled all that together for everyone to make it easy.
All right. Well, gosh, Matt Hausmann, director of Snap Connect, part of the Snap mobile platform. Thanks so much for sharing today. All the best on your coming travels. And hopefully we'll connect with you, no pun intended, somewhere down the road.
Thanks very much, Jake. I appreciate it.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of all of these interviews get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this every Tuesday, Tech Tuesday, on the Educational AD Podcast, and just about every other day for new content. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Tech Tuesday and on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks for listening. Before we go, we do want to give our sponsors one more shout out. Let's go and start with Snap Mobile. They've got an entire platform, our entire suite of platforms for athletic directors. Go to onsnap.com to check out all the things that Snap can do for you as an athletic director. We also want to thank Final Forms. They are the official registration platform of the FIAAA for our state conference. You can find out more about what Final Forms can do for you as an athletic director by going to finalforms.com/Jake. We want to say thanks to Gipper. If you're not using Gipper, you really should. Social media platforms is where it's at for your students, your parents, and your stakeholders. Go to Gipper.com to find out how they can help you. Use our podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. We also want to thank Huddle. You heard me say before, I used Huddle as a football coach, and as an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com to find out all the things that they can do for you as an athletic director. It's not just football anymore. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you have never used a survey to check out your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. We use surveys for just about everything at my school. And the information allows you to address small issues and keep them from turning into big issues because you didn't know about it because you hadn't done a survey. That's athleticsurveys.com. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live demo and see everything that their products can do for you. That's sidelineinteractive.com. And finally, we want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You're looking for a really cool way to display your school's record boards or your Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their touchscreen consoles, great customer service, Vital Signs walloffame.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Tech Tips and the Educational AV Podcast. Have a great day.